Hello, good evening, everybody. Good evening to our speaker, to the other faculty members. Our speaker this evening is the first batch, belongs to the first batch of graduates of BATSPA in the United Arab Emirates in 2018. She is the most outstanding graduate also. And she was the first ever president of the Supreme Student Council. So we have the very pretty, talented, and eloquent Miss Sharina Manaog, currently the Human Capital Coordinator of Majid Al Futtaim in Dubai, who will talk on the employability in the midst of pandemic. So let's welcome our beautiful and talented speaker.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I just want to check if my voice is clear. Sir Jeff?
Very clear.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, BATSPA University. It's so thrilling to be home, to feel home. BATSPA is really my second home, if I may say. And I couldn't be more humbled and privileged to be chosen as a speaker, knowing that I was in your position. I was on the receiving end just a few years back, and it's so unreal. So give me a few seconds. I'm going to try to share my screen right now, and let me know if you could see that. Can you see the screen?
Yes.
All right, perfect. Again, thank you so much, everyone. And like what Sir Jeff mentioned, I'm going to be talking about employment in the corporate world amidst the global pandemic. I know that every one of us are facing such trying and difficult times, and this is one of the hottest topic or trending topics all over, wherever industry, wherever country. This is inevitable as a topic. Employment during pandemic, does it still exist? With all of the layoffs that we've heard, with all of the bad news that we've been gathering throughout the months since the beginning of this year, we could only imagine if there's still employment in the midst of the pandemic. And before I head to that, let me introduce myself real quick. My name again is Sharina Manaog. I'm a Human Capital Executive / Coordinator for Majid Al Futtaim Holding. As most of you are familiar with the city center malls, the Dera City Center, Ski Dubai, Vox Cinemas, all of these, and even the hotels such as Kempinski, Al Futtaim, and I belong to their head office under the human capital function. And I'm also currently an MBA student under BATSPA University, so I'm really proud to be sitting here. Once I was an alumni for our bachelor's degree, and now I'm taking up my master's with the same university, and it couldn't feel much more right, the path that I'm taking with this university that has become my family. I always say this story with everyone that I meet in my office or the people that I socialize with when they ask me, where do you work or which company have you landed on? And I say Majid Al Futtaim. But funny story, I grew up here. I've been here for the past 18 years, and I grew up running around their malls. I grew up playing in Magic Planet. And could I imagine in my wildest dreams that I'll be landing a very, very good position at Majid Al Futtaim. So it's truly a dream becoming a reality. When I walk down the aisle of our offices, our institutes and our universities within Majid Al Futtaim, I always picture myself still the 6-year-old kid running around the same mall, but this time in the head office. And I'm still amazed up to this date. So aside from my professional background, I also serve in the Filipino community in various events, such as the very recent one was the Kalayaan 2020 that was hosted by PhilSoc. It's really a privilege and an honor to be living in a foreign country, serving the Philippines, using our platform, using our talents, and using our spare time to serve the Filipino community abroad for a greater good. And I also mentioned this when I was hosting, that it's a challenge to celebrate, it's a challenge to be joyful, it's a challenge to celebrate independence in the midst of such a global crisis. But still, Filipinos prove to be the resilient ones. Filipinos prove to be the one who never fades away with a smile. And we always find ways to still celebrate and still get together. And we did that very successfully through leveraging our online platform, which is conducting a live celebration through Facebook Live. And, we're very thankful for all of those volunteers, and I highly encourage, aside from being excellent in your studies, being excellent in your profession, it's also a different sense of accomplishment when you serve your community. And at the same time, I also serve in our campus ministry in the church. I have a very close heart for students, for the youth, and that will never go away no matter how old I get. I will always have that big piece of my heart for the youth. And I also enjoy going to events, attending events, organizing events, different events such as fashion, communication events, and all of those. It kind of builds you up in different buckets of talents or of spheres that you have. And it's really a self-choice to hone yourself to grow in those aspects or say competencies that you have. So on the more serious note, let's go ahead. I would like to start with a question. What is it like to be a newbie looking for a job? A newbie or not, we always have a question. What is it like to actually look for a job? It's intimidating, it's scary, it's nerve-wracking. You always want to be on top of things. In my case, before I was graduating, and our faculty knows this, I was already striving to land a role. I was already striving to look for a job. I wanted to conquer that nerve-wracking feeling. I wanted to conquer being nervous and being afraid of people of seniority, people who are of the older generation that could intimidate you. And I always wanted to be on top of things. I wanted to be on top of what I'm afraid of. I wanted to be on top of the challenges that I'm facing. But all of that boils down with, but I'm still a newbie, but I'm still lacking in experience, or I may have, but it's not enough in such a tough market, in such a tough setting, especially living in a cosmopolitan city or a cosmopolitan country that's ever growing. They never stop venturing into transformational investments, and their biggest investment is people. So how am I going to contribute to such a tough market? But at the same time, we also have a question. Let me paraphrase that a little bit. What is it like to be a newbie looking for a job during a pandemic? So you're on your entry level or you're on your mid-level, you're looking for a job, but what's worse is that you're looking for a job during a pandemic. So all of those intimidation, all of those fears and everything are topped with uncertainty. Am I going to get a job? When am I going to get a job? I feel hopeless. What am I going to do next? I'm still scared on top of all of those. And you feel like, okay, all my plans just crushed. All of the plan A, plan B, this is what I'm going to do when I graduate. I'm going to land this kind of job. I'm going to get this when I get my salary, and all of those. And you feel like it doesn't make sense anymore. But while all of those are true, there is also another side of the coin. Even if we're facing such a difficult time, we have to always remember that we have a top and bottom, we have a left and right, we have an A and a B. So, which brings me to my next point, which is data. So let's look at the employability or employment during the pandemic, what have changed, what have drastically became the truth in our current time. And I would encourage you to always look at data, to always be up to date. One of which is 700,000 job applications from the time that the pandemic started is on Bait.com. And that's just one platform for applying jobs. Imagine all the others such as Gulf Talent, LinkedIn. Imagine the number of job applicants that are bulking on, that are rushing to apply for different kind of roles just to get a job. So that's 700,000 individual unique job applications on Bait.com alone. And then also this year, one of the saddest news is when Careem decided to lay off 31% of their employees. Careem is a top market player. We see them everywhere. We have Careem Food Delivery, they have Careem Cart, they have Careem Motorcycles, they have over hundreds of employees in the region, and they were even marked as one of the best employers last year. And imagine that big player in the market laying off 31% of their employees. It was a hard and tough call for the management, but one thing that I really admire about Majid Futtaim is what they did when the Careem company laid off this 31%. Majid Futtaim came in the picture and did a, when you have speed dating, but we also have speed interviewing. So these people that lost their jobs does not necessarily land a job in Majid Futtaim, but steer the hope, to steer the encouragement that there's someone interviewing them for a good cause is, it's a good encouragement for those people who were laid off. The next data that we have is all over the world. Actually, UAE is one of the countries that has the lowest unemployment rate. But this year, due to the pandemic, we faced 2.80% of unemployment rate. That's going to be until the end of 2020. But it's still so much better than the unemployment rate that we had during the recession of 2009, which is 4.20, which is the highest unemployment rate that UAE has ever faced. So with high hopes and with really, really great passion that we don't hit the next half of this unemployment rate anymore. So it gives us a glimpse, or it gives us in a nutshell, that there is actually so much more better things that are yet to come, even in such a challenging time. So what do we have next? These are the in-demand roles or in-demand sectors that we have. Although there are a lot of sectors that laid off, or a lot of industries that decided to cut down on their manpower, these industries are actually very high in demand. So we have the healthcare industry, we have the technology, information services, telecommunications, logistics. Ever since the pandemic started, I've been solely relying on Deliveroo, on Carrefour, delivery for groceries, Lulu. We even have, I'm sure most of you can relate, buying things online since you're only at home. So that's what you kind of grow fond of during the quarantine period. So these are the industries that reflects growth. And this is not just temporary growth, but this is more of a long-term growth, that the market or the economy is actually seeing that there is now becoming a transformational change on how the world views businesses, that before we would get complaints from companies or judgments from companies questioning workforce productivity when they're at home, working from home. I'm sick, but I'm working from home, or my kids needs to be taken care of today, so I'm going to work from home. But now companies are seeing that we cannot actually question workforce productivity when people are working from home, because they see that the business is still active, that there is something to leverage on digitally, and that's how we can actually leverage being technologically robust, which is why technology, information services, and telecommunications are on top of their games at the moment. Eventually, all of the brands that we see in the malls, they're going to go digital. Eventually, and we can actually see it very rampant now. Even groceries are taking their items online. People are seeing it more convenient and more safe and has lower risk when they shop online for their groceries rather than going in a crowd, touching their baskets, um, and then going at home trying to disinfect everything. While you can actually buy everything online, they'll have it delivered at your doorstep. So while there is, yes, an evident truth that there is a big cut on some industries, we could also see where we can find opportunities. And as a business student or as a technology student, you can always see that in every company you belong somewhere. And that's what I felt when I graduated as a business student. They can actually, this is a very agile course. You're being honed as a future CEO. You're not being honed just to become a manager. Yes, that's really good. That's a stepping stone. But this university or this course is honing you to be a leader, not a role player. So whichever industry or sector is booming, you can actually shape and cultivate your own self to fit wherever you can, which I'll also tackle later. Moving on, these are some of the industries that obviously slow down: tourism, leisure, and all of these other stuff that I can't see because it's booming, and luxury brands. Last week, I was speaking with my boss, who's very, very fond of luxury brands. And you know how we never actually see Louis Vuitton or Gucci going on sale? But all of a sudden, these brands are texting you or sending you emails saying that they're going on 60% sale, 40% sale. So just from that, we can actually see that there is a very big difference going on in the market. And we can see the industries that are becoming high players and the industries that are actually slowing down. And it's important for us to understand which industries can actually create an opportunity for us, because then we also have a clearer picture of where we should be going. Yes, it's good that I really want to be in the tourism industry. I really want to be a part of the airlines. I want to be a part of the leisure business. Yes, but at the same time, is it really practical at the current situation, in the current situation, to be there? So I hope I'm not crashing dreams, but this is our current reality. So what should I do in the interim? There is always so much that we can do. We cannot sit down and just wait. We cannot just tell ourselves, this is it. This is our new reality. This is our new normal. We just have to live with it. Actually, there's so much that we can do now that we have so much time in our hands. Let's see how we can make the most out of it. So first and foremost, hone your skills. Use your waiting time to improve yourself and create your own edge that will set you apart from your competition. Being in the talent acquisition team, we see that all of our candidates are actually really, really competent, technical wise, whatever role we're looking at to fill, character, experience, and all of those, they're really, really good. But what sets them apart, what sets other candidates apart, is how they actually create their own edge, how they actually position themselves, how they present themselves to our panelists or line managers. That's what makes you different. So how do they actually hone their skills? How do they actually become really good or the best at what they do during their waiting time? Keep yourself updated. I know that we're all busy with TikTok, with Instagram, and that's all good. That's entertainment. Let's stay happy. Let's keep our happy hormones up. But I hope that as much as we are updated with the latest TikTok challenges, I hope that we are also up to date with the latest trends in business, in the economy, in social issues, because one way or another, your future employer will talk to you about it. We'll ask you about it. We'll ask your opinion about it. So what do you think about the slowing economy of the country? Or what do you think about Black Lives Matter? Or what do you think about justice? All of these things. And I know we're a highly opinionated generation. We're a highly opinionated group of people. But I'm talking about keeping yourself updated in a way that you're knowledgeable, and you can take that knowledge, take all of those opinions, take all of the different points of views, and pick the ones that you think will really benefit your character and will benefit how you present yourself. So stay updated with the latest news. I hope we can also contribute to those latest news by creating healthy conversation with our peers. Next, we have don't stay idle. This is really a danger pit if you stay idle and you don't do anything. Keep yourself productive and practice time management. Why? Because this is the reality of the workplace. When you start working, you can't have idle time. You can't have, okay, I'm just going to rest for a bit, I'm just going to chill for a bit, I'm going to do that later. You can't have that. So you have to practice it even when you're at home, even when you're doing assignments. You have to be productive. You have to manage your time properly. You have to maximize every minute, every second. And I'm not saying to tire yourself, wake up 5 a.m. in the morning and sleep at 4 a.m. the next morning. My advice is when you practice productivity, you also practice multitasking, and you also practice the agility of your mindset. So you're not only focused in one thing, you can actually take a bunch on your plate without being rattled, without feeling overwhelmed about it, without thinking that it's so much, because you've practiced that, you've exercised your skills of productivity, your time management skills. And keep looking. I know there isn't much job openings, or there isn't much job postings now in the internet or in the market, but keep looking, because if you stop looking, then you won't find anything. But if you just keep looking and you're proactive, that's another point that I want to go to. Staying proactive, not being reactive. So you don't just react when something comes your way. You're actually actively doing something about what you want to achieve. So you also want to keep looking. You want to keep, again, staying in tune with the trends. You want to stay in tune with what your plans are, or what next step you're about to take. Keep looking for a job. Keep going online. Keep asking people. Go to your parents' friends. Ask your parents what you should do. You can always call. I know it's not the best time to socialize physically, but you can always grab the phone, Zoom or Avaya, and all of these platforms. Leverage it. It's a really good time to speak with people. Which brings me to my next point. What are employers looking for? We usually get very vague answers or very traditional answers, but I want to deep dive on some of the things that I think have become a highlight of our recruitment or talent acquisition phase. First, employers are looking for, and this is regardless of which grade level you are in, whether it's an entry level or a chief level, they're looking for this. They're looking for agility, the ability to sail through the ever-changing season. Now, when they hire you as, say, human capital executive, how are you going to sail through the changes? One day you're recruiting, one day you're not. One day you're loaded with projects, one day you're not. How are you going to take that? How are you going to take it upon yourself to actually be agile and flexible through these ever-changing times, especially in this pandemic? We never know what's going to happen next, right? We never know if tomorrow another company is closing, or tomorrow actually another company is open. So how are you shaping yourself to be ready to face such trying times and different challenges, from being busy to being not so busy? How are you going to manage that? Next is character over technical skills. My boss always tells me that we look for character over technical skills because technical skills can be taught, technical skills can be improved, it can come over time, but character can't. We we believe in being bold, passionate, and together, and those are our three check boxes. If you're bold, awesome, you're confident, you take challenges, you're passionate, amazing, you're passionate about people, you're humble, but then you're not together, you don't like teamwork, then that ticks you off the box already. That makes two of the boxes void. Because character is actually what builds the role. It's not the technical skills. Your character is what impacts the organization. It's not what you tick off your to-do list for the day. It's not about accomplishing a project. It's how you faced the challenge. It's how you reacted, how you perceive, how optimistic you are, even if it's a really bad day for your whole team. So character defines the success of an employee more than the technical skills. Next is optimism over positivity. What is the difference in this? Positivity is when you're positive about a certain moment, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're also positive about your environment. Optimism is when nothing is going wrong, but you know eventually it will go right. It is when you're in a tunnel and it's really dark, but you see one needle of light sparking through. That is optimism. How are you going to have a mindset that's going to brave the waves when it's a pandemic? What could go worse? It's an economical crisis. But I know tomorrow will be a different day. Tomorrow will be better. The next year will be better. That is optimism. So those are two very different things. And optimism is a really great edge that you have when you stick that together with your character, and then you use that as your edge when you're doing your tasks, when you're presenting yourselves. That's what puts you off differently. Of course, next, problem solver. When I landed my first job, one of the biggest hits that I got from one of my colleagues is, you're being paid not to give problems. You're being paid to solve problems. And it might sound harsh. I wanted to be offended, but at the same time she was right. But if we put that in a more positive note, becoming a problem solver, when you go to your peers, when you go to your manager, and you say, we have this problem, but this is the solution that I have. This is my plan A and this is my plan B. You're already preparing for what you could do. You're already preparing for a solution rather than just voicing out a problem. You know, this happened. And then what are we going to do next? What do you think we should do? That's what makes you different. When you come to a person, you have a problem, but you also have a solution. So keep that in mind. Now as well, this was very different 10 to 20 years ago, and I always hear this from my parents, my mom, who is also in the human capital industry. She said 10 to 20 years ago, everyone or all companies just wanted to stick to the 1, 2, 3. Every company just wanted to stick to the 5 to 9, or they wanted to stick with what they grew, the culture that they grew in, or the things that became norms. But nowadays, what we can see different in companies and is they're actually looking for young guns, or they're looking for people, seasoned people, but people that are innovative, people that are transformational, people who can take a box and actually turn it into a music box, people who can take a balloon and actually turn it into a party popper, people who can take a situation, people who can take a project, meet the expectation, but actually give the company a greater vision of it, a greater outcome that nobody could ever think of, actually. it's not a pressure, but it's an inspiration that before people cannot think outside the box. Now this generation or this time and era that we're in, everyone should be compelled to think outside the box, because actually that company can do that, or that person can also do that. What can you do differently? Being innovative with the way you do your tasks. How do you manage your time? Do you really have to write it down? Do you have to have an alarm clock to manage your time? How will you transform that? How will you innovate the smallest of things and turn them to make a bigger impact? I hope I'm staying on time. I'm almost done with my presentation. Key takeaways. So here are my key takeaways for everybody. Manage your environment. I know as students, as graduating students, or like me who's been working from home for almost 4 months now, it's important that we manage our environment. Put yourself in a setting that you want to be in. I want to be in a corporate world, so I'm going to think and work like as if I'm in the office. I have my mini corner, I have my table, I wake up like I have to wake up when I'm going to the office. I dress up like I'm going to dress up like I'm going to the office. So practice what you want to become your reality. If you're a student now and you see yourself actually excelling in the corporate world, start practicing it now. Start waking up early in the morning. Don't stay up too late. You know, make the most out of the time that you have, inspiring yourself and picturing the present as your future. Another key takeaway is treat it like it's face-to-face. Whenever you have an opportunity to have an interview, it's already bad enough that it's done online. I mean, I wish I could do this webinar or this session with all of you live. It would have been amazing. It would have been so much more interactive, and I could move around with all of you. But are we going to focus on that, or are we going to focus on making a lasting impression to the person on the other side of the screen? So treat it like it's face-to-face. Like now that we're doing this webinar, treat it as if there's 30 to 40 people sitting in front of you. When you have an opportunity for an interview, a virtual interview, or what we call it, in our team, we call it an e-meet. When you have the opportunity, treat it as if the person you're talking to is actually in front of you. Turn on your cameras. Start being confident putting your video cams on. Because if you're not confident putting on your video cam, how will you be confident presenting yourself personally? You know, so how are you going to give your employer and your future employer an impression that this person could actually bring him or herself up confident, whatever setting, whatever challenges, he's going to make a great lasting impression. Okay. Be mentored. Failure happens when someone decides to stop learning. This is a very self-explanatory point, but like for me, Dr. Mina has always been my mentor, whether it's with education, it's my personal life, it's my career life. I have other mentors in my industry, also in the same field of human resources or human capital. I have mentors in my spiritual life. I have mentors in the entertainment industry. Why? Because there are things that cannot be self-taught. There are things that we learn out of other people's experiences. There are things that we learn out of other people's learning. So we should always have the hunger and thirst to know more, because once we say, I think I know enough, that's when we fail. That's when we're just done. Because no matter how old you get, no matter how many doctorate degrees, master's degrees that you get, it's the mindset that actually lasts. It's not those degrees. So the mindset of continually learning, continually saying that I think there's a lot more that I could get. You're never going to hit a wall in learning. When I graduated from my bachelor's degree, after a couple of months, I went to Miss Sally and Sharina. when are we gonna have our masters? Because I missed it so much. I missed being in the classroom. I miss hearing my professors. I miss doing the assignments. And I know this is not for everybody, but it's not just about educational learning. It's life learning. It's about learning more about what happens around you. It's learning about life, what life hits you with, whether it's your personal life, because whatever happens in you, within you personally, will reflect in whatever you do, whether it's your extracurricular activities, it's your professional activities, it will impact you. So never ever stop learning. Always be hungry for that, and always be in search of how you can improve yourself and how you can really shape yourself to become the best version that you can be. Which brings me to the end of my presentation, and I'll be happy to open it for Q&A. Hello, am I the only one who can answer? Jeff? Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah. So if anyone would like to, sir, should we open the floor for any questions?
Hello, our students. Kindly raise questions to our speaker.
Don't be afraid.
Yeah, don't be shy.
Don't be shy. If you want, you can even open your camera. Tips before or during interview. Okay. Tips before an interview. Study a little bit about the company that you're going to have the interview with. Not so much, because the interviewer will actually notice if you've studied every single detail on their website, which also happened to me. I mentioned which year they were founded, who were their first CEOs, and all of that. Just enough to be well equipped about the company. Be confident. When you don't know what to say, it's okay to pause. When you don't know what to say, I don't know. That's humility, and employers also want to see that. They don't want to see you improvising answers, because that's when you start sounding or looking unprepared. When you start improvising, if you don't know, it's okay. Don't say things that you're not sure about. Stop fidgeting, like stop doing things with your hands, stop shaking your legs, and then look at your interviewer eye to eye. I find it really rude when a person talks to me and goes, yeah, because my face is not in the ceiling, and when you look at the person eye to eye, it sends a signal that you're actually listening, that you're actually trying to understand and grasp what they're trying to say. You're showing value to the effort and time that the person is giving you. Casually nod your head when they're making a good point. You can't remember everything they're saying during an interview. So always focus on keywords that they're mentioning. Keywords will help you remember the idea that they gave about it. And don't be afraid to follow up. Yeah, it's not bad. You can send an email, especially right after your interview. Send an email thanking them for their time, and you look forward to seeing them. Call to action is very important, such as I look forward to hearing from you, or I am at your disposal. May you want to contact me for further steps. Anyone else? I'm actually trying to, Okay, which industry is suitable for you? Um, so I think based on my experience, um, I I sort of handpicked or shortlisted the industries that I felt would fit my personality or my skill set by the things I believe in. So of course we have the facts and figures in hand, like the industries that I showed you earlier that are thriving. Ideally, you would want to direct yourself to those industries, but the things that I kept in mind when I was in search for a company or a role to land on is, what does the company believe in? Does it align with me? What is the culture of the company? What is it passionate about? What does it stand for? So the things that I really value when looking for a company is their leadership, their long-term mission and vision, um, what they're passionate about, like I mentioned earlier, and the setting, the culture, the diversity. And then comes second is what I really want, because we have to be practical about what's suitable in the current situation, at the same time with very generous consideration to what we're passionate about or what we think would fit us personally. I can see the chat, I'm sorry. Sorry, I didn't see that. Applicant tracking system. We do have a platform to track internal and external candidates and their progress, if that's what you're talking about. Did I get the question right? Yes, so whenever we have candidates, because we also do internal hiring, we consider both internal and external candidates. They go through the same funnel or they go through the same platform. They're all measured equally, they're all tracked, and they all go through the same process to avoid bias. And from there we can monitor their progress and the feedbacks of the panelists that they've had their interviews with or with their line managers. And in the same system, we could also see what is the goal and objective that the role is supposed to meet, and what are the skill set, what are the deliverables that we're looking for from a person. So it's a very holistic system. LinkedIn. LinkedIn is very good, and I'm sure you guys have also heard of olive.com. When I was a student, that was a really good platform to look for internship. I would suggest for you to manage your expectations when it's internship. Not all companies are generous enough to have paid internships, but when you get one, grab it. But always remember that you're interning. Yes, a side of it is to earn, but you're interning to have experience, to gain experience, to be exposed in the corporate world. So that in itself is the compensation that you're getting, aside from the allowance that you might get on the side. But LinkedIn is really good to look for internship programs. You can even search for companies that are offering internship programs. Majid is offering virtual internship programs as well. And because sometimes those companies have their own portals, especially big companies, most of them opt to use their own websites to promote it, because people often just go directly to their website. So if you have a company in mind, say Johnson's & Johnson's, go type and search Johnson & Johnson's internship program or Majid internship program. You can be very intentional about what you're looking for by being specific. Sometimes not everything is on LinkedIn. Sometimes not everything is on olive.com. So be very specific. And again, like I said earlier, keywords, internship programs in the UAE, and always, it's also good to position yourself with good companies. Um, for sure, LinkedIn is a good platform because it is legitimate and it's trustworthy. Companies trust LinkedIn as a platform over any other platforms, and we are one of those people who have partnered, companies that have partnered with LinkedIn because they actually filter the candidates thoroughly. So going back to the point, if you apply through LinkedIn and if you want to apply for big game players or multinational companies, go through those. But at the same time, I would also advise if you could go directly to their portals, just for legitimacy purposes, because nowadays we have other bogus websites promoting large multinational companies, but are actually not legitimate. Any other questions? Amazing. And you guys can, I can share my email ID with Miss Sally that she could also share with all of you if you have any questions that you want to take offline. And if you want to have a one-on-one, if you want to have a 30-minute coaching with me, I'll be happy to do that with those who really want to. Like if you need, you know, an extra prep, if you have an online interview or if you have a face-to-face interview and you just want to say, I want to do a immersion before I go to the actual interview, I'll be happy to do that. Or if you want just an overall one-on-one book, that's completely fine with me, and you can reach me through my email. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much, everybody, for your time. Have a good weekend. Enjoy, and keep the hopes up. Just want to get that out there. Just make sure that you keep going and always see the brighter side of things. That will help you a long way.
Thank you, Adina.
Thank you. Thank you, Miss Sally. Thank you, sir.